Hello and welcome to another quick wee Nickjitsu video. That's quite hard to say. This one's all about my gear. As people are always asking me what kind of MIDI floor foot controller I use. I said people are always asking me what kind of MIDI foot floor...
MIDI flip-flop.
MIDI floor foot controller. I use the Line 6 FBV Express Mark II. And I'm going to tell you why in just a wee second. Before I go anywhere, got to have a Scottish beer. Otherwise I'll end up speaking English. There's a multitude of wee MIDI foot floor controllers out there. The reason I chose the FBV, the wee one, is because it's wee, not big, wee. And also it was very cheap. This is what I use live. I also use it in the studio for getting expressive parts from classical instruments like violins and all that kind of thing. What you'll see here, behind my very excellent album cover, of course, is this, which is the actual software of the FBV. Now you can see button A, B, C, D. So you can see how I've got mine set up. Funky sock. I hope you can see my funky sock. What I've got is I've got volume, and then I've got program up and down on these two pedals. On that one, on the B, I've got sustain, and on that one I've got a panic button. Now a panic button is basically all notes off. And when you have a panic button, sometimes you get, when you're playing live, a synth will just kind of go bah! Like that, like it's been drinking too much Scottish beer, and the notes hang. And when that happens, you just hit the A button and they all disappear. It happens every now and again, and it depends on the weather, you know, what drummer we've got, what the bass player's eating for breakfast. There's no rhyme nor reason to it. There's no rhyme nor reason to anything that's MIDI, and I'm sure if you've ever played MIDI guitar live, you know all the problems. Yeah, so that's the button that solves all the problems. A, like that. So, first of all, got the volume. There you go. I'm just using stock patches from the Triple Play at the minute, and then what we can do is I can take that A minor, once again, so I can play and hold a chord and look all windswept and interesting at the same time. Or you can do things, you know, more practical things, obviously. Like, you know, switch your guitar on, you play a chord. Like that. And then... just play a little, you know, group of notes over the top. And sound like a small chamber orchestra and a dodgy jazz guitar player all in one. I wish I got paid twice. That'd be good. Make sure that before you use a sustained sound underneath your playing, if you're going to be playing over the top, that you hit block new MIDI notes in the setup of each individual patch. Otherwise you just get this it'll basically sustain all the notes that you play. And with the amount of notes that I play sometimes, especially if it's a Saturday night, then it's going to be mayhem. I mean, you can do it as part of your learning as well. If you want to know if you're studying modes, for example, then you can play again A minor, and you want to know what a Dorian sounds like, or you can change that to Aeolian. There you go. And you can play all your outside stuff or whatever you're learning at the time as well. So it's a really handy thing to use, the B button. So if you look at the C and the D buttons, here's my funky sock. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go up the patches. So I'm just going to start with the, you know, the old organ, and then next patch. We've got the old you know, bit of Mahler. Oh, couldn't you just die without Mahler? Do you know what movie that's from? So we go up to the next one. And then keep going up. Go up as many times as you like, or down, back down again. Play all these wonderful little tunes with all these wonderful little sounds. The sustain button, now what I said to you before about block new MIDI notes, you don't want to do that when you're doing a piano sound, for example. Otherwise all it's going to do is it's going to play one note, and then that's it, it's just going to play the one note, and the piano is going to die away anyway. The way that you actually play piano is when you say the notes are dying away quite quickly, you actually use the B, and in this case I've got it set up as a sustain pedal. You see how they're sustaining much longer. That's the way that a piano player would use a sustain pedal. If you don't believe me, go and find a pianist. This is a wee trick that when you play brass parts, use the volume control to what you're doing is you're actually adding expression into the part, because on certain sounds the sound will react differently depending on how hard you play. Especially if you've got the volume turned up. So you see you get that raspiness when you're playing forte, and then when you go back to like PP, you've got a little quiet tiny PP. So you can do that with the you know, all these kind of little things, and they add expression when you're recording as well. So that's the basics of what the FBV will do with the Fishman. There's other things that you can do, however. So I'm going to switch synths to one of my other ones, the Icarus synth. This is the one that I used on my album Hyperrail. Hyperrail's got loads of synths all over it. It's actually all guitar, apart from the bass, which is bass. So it was all done with the Fishman Triple play, the whole thing, the drums, the whole shebang. I'll do videos on exactly how I did it shortly. But one of the things that I use quite a lot, especially live, is that I'll play a synth like the Icarus that you see here. And it plays a thing like that. I can arpeggiate that. Like that, using an arpeggiator. But I'm going to show you a cool little trick. Now the normal thing to do with an arpeggiator is to play a chord and then sustain it and then play over the top of it, like this. You know, I'm just making up a whole load of rubbish at the minute, but you can see how that works, okay? Now, one of the cool things you can do with the FBV is that if I use it like a wah-wah, you know how a wah-wah, crybaby, if you press the top of it, the toe part, there's a click, and then that switches it on and off. The FBV does exactly the same thing, but it switches to an expression pedal. There we go, open up. There you go. So it does that kind of thing as well. And again, that's really handy for, I mean, you can do anything with that. You can assign it to anything. With the classical instruments, you can do it with expression, with how hard you're playing. So you can play a note, and then it'll get softer and then harder as you're actually playing. And you do it in real time, so you can be expressive with the music as a real player would be. So it's a really handy little feature. FBV is what I use. That's the answer to the question, what MIDI floor pedal do I use? Like I said, it's wee, it's cheap, does exactly what it says on the tin basically. And that's all you need to know. So don't forget, ring the bells, the subscribe thing, and press the button and do the do. And I'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Bye bye. I've been drinking Scottish beer for a change, and it makes saying MIDI foot floor controller quite difficult. MIDI foot floor controller. See what I mean? It's impossible. Get yourself some Scottish beer and you try it. This is Ossian, by the way. It's very, very good.